They say there's two things in life you can count on. One's dying, and the other's paying taxes. Now, I'm not too fond about the thought of dying, but it comes a lot more natural to me than the idea of taxes. You see, I've been paying the government ever since I earned my first dollar, and all I had to show for it was a hole in my back pocket. The way I saw it, taxes were just one big pain in the... Well, they were a pain. But Ellie Mae here doesn't ask me for taxes. And these mountains are a free man's land. And I guess that's why I came out here, to be a tax-free man.
Around here, a man could hang for what you're doing.
Well, what did I do?
Trespassing, vagrancy, drinking without permission, and disturbing the peace, for starters.
Well, please, ma'am, I'm really sorry, and I'd be glad to pay for the water.
You new in these parts?
My name's Will Rankin, and I come out here to get away from the taxes that I had to pay back home.
Who are you trying to kid?
What's true? I figured the only way to beat them was to leave them all behind me. I just had to call it quits.
So you're a quitter, huh? A tax dropout? Can't you see without taxes there wouldn't be any of the government such as we know them? And there'd be none of the services that these governments provide for us.
Well, so what?
So I bet you don't even know what a tax is.
Well, I do so. A tax is a sum of money that we have to pay to our government. The amount we pay is based on our salaries and our purchases and where we choose to live.
That's part of it. But most tax money is also used to pay for things that we demand as citizens.
Well, I never asked for anything.
Bet you did. You and lots of other folks down through history. You see, back in the old days, when our country was young, few taxes were needed. But as our country grew, so did the affairs of government, and so did our tax bill. People kept demanding more services, like better armed forces to defend our country and property with, and new roads to drive the newfangled vehicles on. But everything we wanted had a price tag attached, and that meant higher taxes. When the Depression of the early 1930s hit us, lots of people were hurt financially. Afterwards, to make sure it wouldn't happen again, they gave our government the power to set up Social Security programs and other welfare systems. But that kind of insurance didn't come cheap. So, it meant more taxes had to be levied. You see, these governments each needed money to operate with and to provide us with the services that we've demanded down through the years.
What kind of services?
Let's take your own local city or county government. With the dollars they collect from property taxes, we get things like educational facilities, streets and roads, police and fire protection, and even special rescue teams in some places. You see, the taxes we pay our local governments take care of our personal needs. Most local tax money comes from the property taxes that are paid once a year.
Well, what about the state governments? They have all kinds of taxes like sales and highway and automotive, business and income tax. What do we get for that?
State governments see to things like highway construction and maintenance. State police, courts for civil and criminal cases, and the maintenance of colleges and universities for higher education.
And then there's the federal government. Businesses and individuals pay over $400 billion a year to them each year in federal income taxes. Hey, that's a lot.
It does a lot. A strong armed forces takes a big chunk of that national money. The rest is divided among veterans programs, welfare recipients, aid in times of emergency, and the maintenance of our national parks and forests.
What's all so expensive? All these taxes and services. Couldn't we just cut out some of these things?
Sure, but what would you cut? Would you eliminate the Food and Drug Administration that lets us know if antibiotics and other drugs are safe to use? Or would you cut off Social Security benefits for older folks? Or what about the people that set minimum standards of health in restaurants and other public places? You might not want any help with these services, but I sure do.
Like they helped you here? Like they helped you all the way to the poorhouse?
No, that was nobody's fault but our own. You see, our town used to be some beautiful place with solid, kind-hearted folks living here. Of course, sometimes they got riled up about things. Just like you, our townsfolk got pretty fed up with paying taxes. So one day, they decided they weren't going to pay anymore.
Well, boys, what do you say? All those in favor of boycotting taxes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No!
That settles it. The ayes have it.
That's how it started. Can you imagine what would happen if there were no taxes? When local taxes disappeared, there was no money for teachers' salaries or supplies. Schools had to be closed, and the education of our youngsters was cut short. And when it rained, there was no money to repair the streets with, let alone to build new ones. And there weren't any fair trials either, since there was no money to pay for a judge and a jury. A lot of folks got the short end of the rope because of that. I used to live in this house, but do you know what? One day it burned down. It probably could have been saved, but because we had no tax money for a fire department, it got leveled along with half the town. Bandits. You see, since we never paid our federal taxes, there was no national defense. So when the bandits attacked, the cavalry never came.
Taxes pay for disaster relief, too?
Sure. And the fact is, the taxes provide us with the services that we demand as citizens. And if we want those services to continue, we have to pay for them.
Well, I still don't trust governments. I mean, how do we know all the money they collect goes into these services?
Not all of it does. Some of it's used to operate government departments and pay salaries. There is some waste.
You bet there's waste. The fancy limousines and houses, and overspending by politicians.
The excesses do have to be controlled, and part of that's your job. If you're not happy the way your tax dollars are spent, then make your voice heard by voting for those people who will give you what you want. Tell me, did you vote in the last election?
No, but I guess I should have.
I'd say you've got some thinking to do, Will. You've got to ask yourself, do you want to live in a ghost town and wander around the desert? Or do you want to live in the real world?
Well, Ellie Mae, all those in favor of the real world, say aye.
Opposed? Your ghost don't count no more.